actually revolves around your seniors who graduated from your institution, our institution, coming back to the school and interacting with you guys. So please feel free to ask any questions. Uh, this webinar will be helpful only if you ask questions. Otherwise, we'll not get the true potential of it. Feel free to ask any questions, no matter if you feel that the question is very juvenile or very simple. We don't mind, and believe me, the whole idea is that we have been there. What you listen to from the speakers today, and we have two very distinguished speakers with us. What you listen to from them, you'll get to know that we've all been there, and we totally understand what you guys are going through and what is in store for you. And that's what we are here to share with you. So alumni committee's initiative with this is called Men and Women of Substance. And we hope that we make this difference. And after you guys graduate, we'll hope that you guys will be an integral part of this alumni body, which we call the Old Student Association of Bal Bharati Pitampura. There are a lot of initiatives planned for the school, for the students, and for the society, which are happening these days by this alumni committee. If you follow the Facebook page, you will get to know what all we are doing. We will be sharing the link as well with you guys, so you can understand what is happening at the alumni level and take some inspiration, which might help you going forward. So we have Sonia ma'am also with us now. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, ma'am. Very well. Thank you.
I'm so happy to have everyone here. I think we've got 190 of us here who've joined in, and more will be joining in because this time we opened it out to class 11 also. So we have a whole lot of requests, and what we are planning now is that we're going to do an edited version and put it on Facebook as well, on our parent portal as well, so that all the students right from class 9 and 10 onwards can access it, who miss out on this very, very valuable session.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of requests from the recent 12th class graduates as well. So we also shared the same, that we'll be sharing them the links when it's posted online.
Right. And you and your team are doing a wonderful, wonderful job. I must compliment you guys.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'll just introduce my team also. I think I have my colleagues from the alumni committee online with us today. So I'll just introduce the committee. So I head the committee as the president for this time. I have my colleague Gunjan Malhotra. She's from 1997 batch. I am from 2006. Gunjan today has her own business and has a storied career where she's traveled the length and breadth of the marketing branding industry, and she'll also be coming to speak with you. Then I have, and she's the vice president. Then I have Paranay. Paranay has a very successful business, and he'll be sharing his thoughts in the next few weeks. And he is also the vice president and from 2005 batch. Then I have Rishi Wadhwa. He's our super senior. He's actually from the first batch of Bal Bharati Pitampura, which graduated. And Rishi is the general secretary of the alumni committee. And again, a very storied career. He has dabbled in being a chef, opening a restaurant, and then going into the mainstream jobs. And he will also be sharing his experience in the next few weeks. And then I have Praful. Praful is the treasurer of the committee, and he's from the 2009 batch. So he's the youngest of the lot for this committee. And again, he's doing something very, he's doing something very unique, and not everyone has that passion, but he'll also be coming to speak to you on marine conservation, on making a career in the field of sports, making a career in the field of adventure sports, his experiences with the the page 3 of the world, the politicians, when he's worked there, and very, very interesting career there as well. He'll also be coming to speak with you. And so I'll just now introduce our distinguished speaker for the day. So we have two speakers today. I'll start with Arijit. Uh, so good morning, ma'am. Rashika ma'am is also here. So I'll start with Arijit. Arijit is from my batch 2006, a very good friend of mine. And when I discussed with him, he just jumped on the chance to share his experience with you guys. So Arijit today is a senior principal, if I'm not wrong, at Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas. And again, very interesting, what do you say, career he's had from school, his passion, and then finding the path in legal and reaching obviously on the way to the pinnacle. Along with that, I think we are almost there, 207. We'll just wait a couple of minutes, then I'll invite Arijit to just share some of his experience, his life story, and then we can, please feel free to mention, ask questions in the meanwhile. Uh, I will be taking them down during the course of the webinar. So don't miss out on asking anything that you have and you want to discuss. So just sharing something about Arijit. So Arijit, as I said, is today a senior principal associate at Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, and he specializes in merger acquisition private equity. And he will be sharing. He, along with our other speaker Tishta, will be sharing the various flavors that law has to offer, what someone can expect when they talk about private equity or litigation, in-house counsel, corporate law, and the different flavors which are there, and how do you reach there. So what you can do or what you can learn from their experiences so that your path becomes easy, your path is shortened, and you don't have to take that longer route. So Arijit, I think we will start. We are already 10 minutes late. So Arijit, over to you. If you can just share with the students today about your journey, a little bit about yourself, and what instances in life which led you where you are today. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Tanveer. Firstly, hi, Apra ma'am, Sonia ma'am, Beena ma'am. It feels great to be interacting with you all. It really takes me back the memory lane. I'm hearing these names, Rashika ma'am, after a very, very long time. So it's great to be interacting with everybody, and it's a privilege to be interacting with the students who are going to enter the phase of 12th standard board exams, and when they're in the position where they're going to be making some career choices, which they think is the penultimate decision in life. Just a brief intro about me. As Tanvir mentioned, I graduated in 2006 from school. Uh, I was a very, very mediocre student. I think my average percentages would be in the 60s. I wasn't some off the cuff brilliant person. After school, I was always very interested in the creative field. So after school, there were various choices, and I was fundamentally certain that BU cutoffs are insane, so I'm never going to make it. So I chose the way to go for some sort of a professional course. Uh, One interesting thing is that I applied for everything I was eligible for, and I actually applied for NIFT and got through NIFT Delhi in communication design. I also got through law by a stroke of luck. As I was always in a creative bend, I actually, joined NIFT, and then there's a whole story about going to law. But I guess to start with, during school, I was a house captain in the Anand House, and I think it was a very important time during school because in 11th and 12th, frankly, I had no idea what I'm going to do in the future. And just like all of you, I'm sure, I was in a position where I did not have any sort of fundamental passion, which I thought that this is the thing I was born to do. It was more of a try and eliminate option. So At that point of time, I was really looking at exploring various options, what I can get into, what I cannot get into. And therefore, the choice of NIFT happened initially, and then I shifted on to law. So, Tanvi, should I just take up about how
Yeah,
the whole decision-making process happened? And
yeah. So let me just like for the students' benefit, just share a few thoughts as well. Because Arijit, again, as I said, has been my batchmate, a very good friend. Though he gets lost in between for a few years, but comes back eventually. But yeah, so he said that yes, he would know better what kind of a student he was. But as a person, I'll just share that he is very sharp, and he has been very sharp throughout the school life as I've known him. And he said that he's a house captain, and you understand that. And I want to share here just few points that coming from my experience, and I think Arijit will agree to it. Uh, it's an all-rounded personality which makes the students successful in the world which is out there. So don't discount it. You might feel at this stage that there's a lot of pressure to just clear your exams. I agree. It is true. The world is competitive today, much more competitive than it was. But don't forget the importance of an all rounded personality. So, the co curricular activities that the school arranges for you, they're equally important in your path to success. Maybe just studies might lead you to that level, but believe me that at one point there'll be a ceiling, and that ceiling, at that point, everyone at your level will have the same academic score, the same credentials. What will differentiate you from that point onwards is your all-rounded personality, which is built right now in school. So don't discount that, and that's what Arijit actually has. And since school had, he had a very sharp intellect, and as he said, he was very creative. If I had our art teachers here, and they will vouch for it that at one point we believed that he will actually go in the creative field because he was very good at that. And as he said, he was still exploring, though he was really good, but he was still exploring, and there's no harm, as you are also doing it right now. So if you feel that you are good at something, carry on. You might pivot in between, but as long as you're loving what you're doing, I think you will make the most of it. So maybe, yes, Arijit, it will be helpful if you can share like little more details in depth. Like you gave your NIFT, it's not an easy exam or easy entrance to crack. NIFT itself is the top in India when it comes to the creative field. So having done that and scored an all India ranking, how did you think, okay, NIFT is not for me, maybe law is for me? What were the triggers in your life, or generally an experience, or generally what do you think from the perspective of the scope? What was the reason?
sure. Tanvi, firstly, I have to absolutely 110% agree with what you said. Uh, in my experience, and I've been in out of school since 2006, 14 years, what you said is bang on. It's not the question about beyond a point of time. At one point of time or the other, you will realize that everybody will have the same academic credentials. When you're in the corporate world, you will realize that everybody more or less has the same equivalent CV. What really will set you apart is what you're passionate about, what you did in school, and frankly, that will also create a lot of good memories which you can always take back. So don't. I understand that the world will tell you that it is a very competitive sphere. You need to uh, win the race. But the bottom line is that if you win a rat race, you're still a rat. So while we are all in it, we need to really have an enriched growth, which is that do if you're passionate about anything, music, singing, dancing, reading, just chilling, watching Netflix, even just do it a bit. Don't take the additional stress. And extracurricular activities is extremely important. Have a hobby, read a little, do meditation. Right now is the perfect time. uh, you know I, some of these things, had I known when I was in school, like for example, I really believe now in meditation and different sort of uh, positive thinking, etc., which I frankly was had never even heard of these words when I was in school. So just do your extracurriculars. I think just place equal importance, if not more, on those on your studies. And it really helps you give a perspective and a personality which you may not at that point of time realize, but I guess later in life it really gives you a different perspective when you're more all-rounded. So I'll tell you, something interesting that happened is that I was generally very interested in art and crafts, etc. So I used to participate in a lot of art competition. To be honest, at the risk of and at the cost of my academics. I never was a very brilliant student, so to say, academic wise. I think it would be a rare occasion that I ever got 95 or 90% ever in my life. I think in fifth standard, I got 25 out of 25 in a cycle test. Uh, one thing which was a perpetual state which I was in is I was confused about what I can do, and it wasn't. And I did feel that I did not have the world of options with me because being a mediocre student, you pretty much know that you're not going to make a DU cutoff, so you can't do your standard BCom, eco honors sort of a thing. And as I was creative, I thought, let me apply. My policy was that let me apply for everything that I am eligible for, and then we can just take a call once I have the options. So I did apply for NIFT. Frankly, I took up coaching, and I'm not ashamed to admit I paid the full fees but attended two classes. Unfortunately, yeah, my parents had to bear the brunt of it, but I did manage to secure a rank. The exams are not very stressful. I think it is the environment which makes it stressful. So if you speak to 20 people, they'll stress you out even more. I think it's a very important strategy to keep yourself away from stress whenever you're giving any sort of competitive exam, be it a finance exam or a NIFT or an NID. I also gave NID, which I did not clear. I also gave law at that point of time because I was giving exams for everything that I was eligible for. So I got into three things. One was NIF Delhi for communication design. I got into law, and I got into College of Business Studies in Delhi. As I was creative and everybody in the world had convinced me that I was creative, I thought, why not go in for NIFT? And I did a year of NIFT in Delhi. Uh, However, there was something fundamentally, amiss because I wasn't really liking it, and it's very difficult to put it in words. But I think it was just when you know it when you don't feel so passionate about it. You know it when you're kind of feeling stuck. So that was the feeling. So I said, okay, if not NIFT, let me try law. I had a lot of so I have a very strong political and social beliefs. So I really wanted to change the world. Uh, Now, years looking back, sitting in a corporate law firm, I think it's kosher coming from me. But at that point of time, I was very passionate about changing the system or doing something which is fundamentally more cerebral, which is more to do with brains and not so much as a creative process where you're pleasing the clients. So that was the passion. And frankly, at that point of time, I thought, okay, if I want to change, why not change? The main point is that even if you make a choice of a career and you go into a college, don't be afraid to change it. You feel free to change it at any point of time. I changed it in a year. People I know are still changing it after 8 years. Give everything a shot. Whatever you feel passionate about, whatever you feel is the right thing to do, just give it a shot. I think it's a very important perspective that you should not have any regrets, and that can be in any field. So like for example, a lot of engineers go into investment banking and not really core engineering services. They're also giving it a shot. I would really recommend that uh, don't don't follow a herd. Don't follow what people tell you. Whatever you feel like doing, you should just give it a shot. And if it works out, fair enough. If it doesn't, it's never too late to change. So after 1 year of NIFT, I decided to give exams again. I was fairly late in giving my legal entrance exams, and I think Tishita will be touching upon how legal entrance exams are uh, structured today. But fairly, at that point of time, I literally had one college which I could apply for and I could get into. That was Symbiosis, and thankfully, I made it to Symbiosis. And since then, it's been a different journey about how law school was fundamentally different from work, how law school uh, did not tell us about what is in store for. So I think with experience, we can I can maybe give you an insight. There was a particular slide I had shared with Tanveer, maybe Tanveer, a little
I'll
later,
just,
maybe we can.
yeah,
Yeah,
let me know when I'll put it on.
sure. So yeah, that was my journey from NIF to Symbiosis. I moved to Symbiosis, and just like all of many of us, this was the first time I had actually left home, the creature comforts of home, in life. So that gives you a different perspective. I think all of this should be taken as part of a holistic experience where you learn various different things, even surviving on, say, very little money. I come from a very, very humble background economically. So, having almost no money and being in college gives you a different perspective on priorities. So, I joined law, and frankly, law school is one of the best places you can be because it encourages a lot of freedom of thought, and it encourages a lot of debates. Law is such a wide subject that you cannot really say that there's one particular thing that you can cover law in 5 years. It requires years and years of research to master even a particular part of law. So I went through various subjects, and legal courses are designed in such a way that you're exposed to so many different aspects, from politics to industrial relations to factories to intellectual property, that it gives you a lot of experience and insight rather than experience into what the world is and how the world runs around. Can we just let me know whenever if
Yeah,
you can put up that slide?
I'll just do it. Just a second. Give me a second. Yeah.
So before that, I think there's this one question which has come, which is saying that, I'm very bad at maths, so can I leave, or is it compulsory to pursue maths in law? You're exactly in the same position as me. I was horrible in maths, and I hope our mathematics teacher is not here, Raman sir. But I was one of the key reasons why NIFT and law were choices for me was because I just could not understand maths. The minute mathematics moved from numbers to alphabets, I just lost it.
Is it visible? So maybe, Arijit, I will request if we can just hold on here. I just have few more points before we
Sure.
move to details of this, because we need to introduce our second speaker for the day as well. But before I just go there, I have a couple of pointers. So, so you shared with everyone that what actually led you to choosing law. So thanks for that. But at the same time, you also shared that please feel free to change if you are not liking what you're doing. So that's important, very important. And I also believe that if you're not loving what you are doing, if it's not giving you joy, you will. There is a very high probability that you will not be able to make a successful career out of it. You will make a living, but not a career. So you have to be careful. At the same time, don't worry. Life is long, and there are a lot of instances that you will get to figure out what you love, what is your passion. And I believe that anything that does not work out, it's a story, and life is full of stories. So that's you just take it in your stride and learn from it and figure out what's the next path for you. But at the same time, Arijit, if you can point out, considering your experience, is there like one or two points if you suggest uh, anything to these students that while they are in school, maybe they can explore some out of the box way or a non-traditional way just to figure out and get some flavor of what law or what this career holds for them. So you know the career, you know the sector as it is today, and you've been there for quite some time. So can they do something today just to figure out, even with fair bit of certainty, whether this is something that they're cut out for, whether it is something that they like, or can they be aware of certain what do you say, things in their daily life which just tells them, okay, I'm cut out for this field, now let's give it my all. Is there something like that that you can share?
Sure. So Tanvir, so I fundamentally think there are two types of people in the world. One is they know what they're cut off for. So a lot of people in our batch itself knew what they wanted to do, and they were very clear in their head, and they just went for it, and they're sticking to it. That is, that you're lucky to have that sort of crystal clear thought. The second kind of person, the school of thought which I and I suspect you belong to, is that I think I can do five things. I'm not sure. Let me figure out the way. Let me do a process of trying each of them out, and uh, just eliminate whatever doesn't work for me. So some of the things which I really feel we should do in school, and which I hope I did in school, is that maybe we should read a lot about the profession that we eventually want to do. Unfortunately, the thing is that the whole decision about career, about what you want to do, comes around the later part of your 12th standard, where you actually are in the position where, or maybe now times have changed, and maybe the later part of your 11th and 12th, which is, which is frankly too late, because at that point of time, you have 20 things to manage. I would suggest read a lot about the different types of professions that you have. Read a lot of blogs with people who have actually worked in different fields. That helps you get a perspective. But beyond a point of time, interact with people if you can, if you have the opportunity to interact with people, say working in, say for law, if you have an opportunity to work with, to speak to a litigator, a law firm professional. Uh, so try to speak to a lot of people, try to read a lot, but beyond a point of time, I think really, figure out what you feel like doing. And that would be a process which you want to start now rather than wait till the end, because at the end of the day you'll be pressurized with your board exams, with your competitive exams, etc. So just have a yeah.
Perfect. No, thanks. So I think 12th class students were there yesterday. So we are getting questions. That's great. Please keep on writing. Arijit, I'll just take those questions at the right time. So rest assured, no need to fuss about them. I shared with the 12 students last week, and I'll share for the 11 students as well, that at this point, it is important, as Arijit said, read, read a lot, and not just the books, read the blogs, read the articles, read the journals, and talk to people, the people who are around you, your friends, your family, your father's friends, your mother's friends, your family friends, and friends of friends who are in this field. Find them out either on LinkedIn or generally, and just talk to them and ask them, okay, I just want to spend a day with you in your firm. Can I do that? You will ask 10 people, maybe one of them says yes. Okay, you don't have to do anything. Just stand there for a couple of hours, see what these guys are, see what they're doing, what their life is, and you will get an insight which will be very helpful in your decision making. And as Arijit said, don't keep everything towards the end. Keep on doing it as a passionate thing. So by the end, when your exams are there, you will know what needs to be done. So at this point, I'll take one last question before that. So Arijit, symbiosis. So you said that it is not exactly, there are a lot of things in store which you were not prepared for, or there was a lot of different from school. What was it? Something that you remember, one instance, or something that you thought ki, yeah, I should have done it in school. Tab opportunity thi, to आसान हो जाता काम. Or something that you didn't do or can recommend the students that ये पढ़ लो या ये कर लो. It will be helpful when you go to college, whichever the college is.
Yeah, so I think one of the things is that I wish I would have read about law a little more in advance. And I frankly had a lot of opportunity because a lot of my family, is involved in law. So I think this only that I wish I had in my late 10th standard, 11th standard, started exploring my career opportunities. Just not a stressful career opportunity that I took down a pen and paper and start making a plan A, plan B, but generally just be a little more aware, because when I was in school, and maybe things have changed. Tanveer and I are ancient now, but
Yeah,
but
don't include me in that, but it's okay.
so I stand corrected. I'm ancient now, but during when I was in school, we had no no knowledge about what the world outside was, what are the careers. We just did not bother with it. And now, we have so many available avenues which are interesting. Like, for example, I find watching YouTube much more interesting than going to, say, a blog and reading like 5 pages of somebody's experience. It's a much more capturing thing. So I wish I had known what law means or what NIFT means a little in advance, so that maybe 5% it would have helped me in take my decision, or at least it would have prepared me. But generally keeping eyes and ears open in the world, and not from a competitive exam perspective. But see, competitive exams are just like a phase of your life, which is a temporary phase. What you really need to worry about is that if you're choosing a career, say, in which you're going to be focusing 40 years, you need to know what is in that. Competitive exams is just a stopgap arrangement where you get into that. So Tanvir, I think that is
Perfect.
one thing which I was there. Uh, and
Perfect.
yeah,
Sorry, I cut you off. Anything else?
no, no,
Okay,
I
perfect.
think that's about it.
Sorry, there's a lag at my end. So I'll just call on Tishta now. So Tishta Tandon she is a 2014 grad. So we wanted someone more recent to also tell you about what the world is today. And she also has a very distinguished profile. She has done her BA LLB honors from National Law University, and she graduated in 2019. So that's fairly recent. And she's currently working at the same firm as Arijit, which is Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas. Obviously, her profile was there, and I hope you've gone through it. You will see that it's a very distinguished profile. But I'll just call on Tishta now to share her life story, her what made her choose this field, and maybe some instances which molded her, and then we'll get on to the last segment of our webinar, which is talking about law as a career. What are the various options available? What are the different flavors of law? And take on your questions. So, Tishta, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Tanvir. I hope that I'm audible.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to thank the alumni committee and the school and everyone who was responsible for organizing this. I think the information gap that Arijit was talking about, that we did not really know in school what is in store for us, can be sort of filled with these kind of initiatives, which are being actively pursued by the alumni as well as the school. And I must say that I completed my entire schooling from Bal Bharti, so I'm a very proud alum of the school. And it definitely laid a very strong foundation for everything that has come to me post that. Now, the reason I decided to talk to all of you today is because, like Tanvir mentioned, until fairly recently, I was in the same position as most of you. And I hope that hearing about my experience will help you navigate some of the uncertainties and challenges that you all might be facing at the moment. I was actually a commerce student in 11th and 12th. So law was not sort of a priority or the decision that I'd made in 11th and 12th. It was always in the back of my mind that I want to pursue a professional course. So, like Arijit mentioned, he pursued both law and management entrance examinations, and I sort of did the same. I gave almost all legal and management exams. I also cleared most of the management and legal entrance exams. So I'll be talking about CLAT and ALIT in a little bit of detail in just a bit. And how I finally settled on law, I would say that once I started preparing for these entrances, there's something called the legal aptitude section. So before that, of course, like many of us, I did not have an idea if I have an aptitude or even an inclination towards law. But once I started reading about, so I did a crash course, and once I was taught these concepts, I started attempting these questions. I realized that I found them very interesting. So it's basically that you get a legal principle and there's a set of facts, and you have to apply the legal principle to those facts, which honestly a lot of lawyers also do in their practice. So I think coming to what Tanvir asked about whether right now you can do something which will help you figure out whether you should be even looking at law, I would strongly encourage anyone who's interested to just go online, look at the previous year papers, attempt this section. Now, what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that these legal aptitude questions are the be all and end all of whatever law is. All I'm saying is that they're a good way to understand if you even wish to pursue it further. And honestly, like Arijit mentioned, you can't learn law even in the 5 years that you get. So it's not going to be all that there is out there, but definitely doing that, and also seeing if you're someone who likes reading a lot, if you're inquisitive, if you like following the news, those can be some of the things which will help you analyze if law as a career option is something that could be suited for you. Now, if that's sufficient in terms of law as a choice of career, then I think I'd touch upon a little bit about the entrance examinations.
So
So
just
I
just a
get,
second,
yeah,
just a second. Sorry, Tishta.
yeah.
Just before that, okay, you pointed out how they can figure out. But what prompted you to actually choose this field? So it was just, was there any, was it just passion, or you knew since always, or what, how did you explore it?
So like I was mentioning, it was just one of the options. It wasn't per se a passion. It was only when I started dealing with those legal concepts, in the sense that someone was teaching me during that crash course, or I was attempting those questions. I realized for them, I also like doing them. But more than that, I always knew that I have a love for the English language. I think a great part of that is the English faculty at the Bal Bharati School, our insights and the way we are taught. So definitely that was one thing. I enjoyed reading. I liked following the news, political, legal events. So when I look back at it in hindsight, I think it should have been the right choice even from the beginning. But like I said, it wasn't. It was something I only settled on after 12th. So which is why I think Arijit also mentioned this. It's better if you start exploring this right now when you are in 11th and 12th. It will also give you more time to explore what the legal field actually is about, and also prepare for these entrances. So I actually prepared only in 2-3 months, but it's very difficult. It puts a lot of pressure on you just after the board examinations. And it's possible only if your basics are strong. But if you would like to take more time understanding concepts, if you feel, and of course, if you feel that law is the thing for you, then I would say that you should start preparing at least a year or two before, because that will definitely give you a lot more time to deal with the syllabus than, so to say, like I did.
So Arijit, I just one question on the. So do you want that we should go ahead with sharing what are the flavors of law first, or start with the entrance and then move on to it? Tista, you can also tell me.
I think logically, let's do the entrance part first.
Okay, so I think Tishta, then you can please share with everyone what about, as you were sharing about CLAT and
Sure.
other things.
Sure. So, as some of you might know, there are basically two entrance examinations. One is CLAT, which is for all NLUs except NLU Delhi, and the other one is ALIT, which is for NLU Delhi. I gave both, and I scored highly in both. So so ultimately I decided to pursue my law from NLU Delhi, but I would have also gotten NALSA or maybe even NLS through CLAT. Now coming to the format of the exams, it's basically divided into 5 sections. One would be your English, second is your legal aptitude, which I talked about, then your logical reasoning, your GK, and the last one is mathematics. There was a question earlier about mathematics, so let me just put it out there. Even if you're not good at maths, it's not a problem. It's only 10% of the entire weightage of the exam. So just you can definitely make up for those 10% marks through scoring well in the other sections.
Yeah, so here the question the person had was, can you, he was saying, do I need to take math as the subject with commerce, or can I just avoid maths
Okay.
altogether and not have it as a subject?
Okay. So the level of mathematics is actually supposed to be only till 10th standard. So even if you don't pursue it after that, I think it's possible. Of course, you'll have to practice, and some of the concepts might be advanced and high level from what you might have done in school in 10th. So this is something that I wanted to say anyway for all the sections, that you need to practice a lot. And the reason is that the time you get to attempt these questions is very little.
So
So starting this year, they're going to be
sorry,
one. Yeah,
Tishta. Sorry to interject
yeah, no
once.
problem.
I just have a pointer here, and it's just
Mhm.
again from my experience.
Yeah.
Uh, and this is answering to this question that I'm not good at maths. Can I leave it, or is it compulsory?
Okay.
So, for law per se, as Tishta said, and as Arijit also said, the weightage to math in their entrance exams is low. So, it's a purely personal choice whether you want to leave it or not, because any which ways it will come in the exams. You will have to study it, and those 10%, depending on how strong you are on the other subjects, might make a difference. So, be very careful in taking this decision. It's not as simple as a yes or a no. And
So,
second,
Tanvir, here I just have a small point.
yeah.
See, in humanities, for example, you will not have mathematics as a component. So, to just clarify this position, technically, to give the exam, you do not need to take maths for 11th and 12th.
Excuse me, sir.
And
Sir, we have an option. We have an option of maths with humanities.
okay, so technically, just to for qualifying to give the exams, if you're eligible to give the exams, you do not need mathematics to be taken in 11th and 12th. If you do take it, I think it does help you to a certain extent, but there's no compulsion for you to take it in 11th and 12th. The mathematics, and Tishada, correct me if I'm wrong, the mathematics in law school is not exactly your 11th and 12th type of mathematics. It's a slightly different mathematics linked to logical reasoning, etc. So just to clarify, you don't need to compulsorily have mathematics as a elected subject in 11th and 12th to give your law exams.
Yeah,
Perfect,
that's
perfect.
absolutely correct. Yeah.
Yeah, one pointer here, as I said, uh, if you're sure that this is what you want, please take a judgment call. But depending if you have doubts, maths does open up a lot of other options for you going ahead. So keep in mind, if it's really hampering your other parts of the studies, then you can take a judgment call. If you are not sure, then again, it's a judgment call depending on what you are looking at to do after 12. So now just rephrasing what Arijit and Tishta said, for law and qualifying for giving the law exam, maths is not compulsory, and I think that should answer that question. Over to you, Tishta.
Yeah, thank you, Tanvir. So I was just talking about the format of the exams, and I was talking about the time crunch that you'll face. So essentially, in my year, we had to answer 200 questions in 120 minutes for CLAT. This year, they've relaxed it, so it's going to be 150 questions in 120 minutes. However, for CLAT, they haven't done that. Sorry, for ALIT, they haven't done that. So you'll have to answer 150 questions in 90 minutes. Now, as you can see, it's clearly less than a minute per question. So the idea while preparing is to time yourself doing as many practice papers as you can. And while giving the exam also is to always keep a watchful eye on the time, because mostly what happens is people run out of time. And an important distinction between these two exams is the negative marking. So in CLAT, there is negative marking. So of course, you should not just be guessing the answers you're not sure of. However, in ALIT, there is no negative marking. So like even if at the end you just have 2 minutes left and say you have 10 questions, just mark whatever you can, A, B, C, D, whatever you like, because yeah, there's no harm in doing that. So that is something, a distinction between these two examinations. And I also want to tell all of you that starting this year, my college, which is NMU Delhi, has reserved 55 seats for people who are from the Delhi region. It has only been introduced this year. So, of course, it is going to be advantageous for you and anyone who's appearing from this year if you choose to sit for ALIT. Now, I have talked a little bit about the sections, the different sections that are there. And of course, there'll be no substitute to practice. I think for English, you really need to build upon your vocabulary. So something like word power made easy comes in very handy at that stage. For GK, you need to read, of course, newspapers, or like Arijit mentioned, you can also watch YouTube videos. You can see podcasts. There are a lot of online resources available at this time. And maybe you can use the lockdown time also to do some of that. What is also very helpful is these GK Today and Arihant publications. So I really liked Arihant, and I used to read their monthly news updates. I only did that, of course, at the end after my boards, but like I said, it puts a lot of pressure, and that is not something that I recommend. Now,
Just one question:
yeah.
Are there other? Again, I'm not from this field, so that's why I'm asking. So, CLAT and
Mhm.
ALET, are these the only two exams in India, or you every like there are certain colleges which have their own exams, and how are they different?
Yeah, there are examinations for I think there's Christ and Symbiosis as well, has examination. I don't know about this year. Sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't check if the requirements remain the same this year. But Christ definitely has an exam. I gave those as well, and I did clear those. But the format essentially and the kind of questions are remain similar. So, and mostly people focus on CLAT and ALET, but of course, for the other private colleges as well, you might have to give those examinations, and the requirements change year to year. So, that is something that maybe I can get back to you on after checking what's the
So,
latest
perfect.
requirement. Yeah.
Perfect. So, for everyone's understanding, we'll be sharing a takeaway small document, which was to be shared for last week as well, but it's pending at our end. We'll be sharing both these documents this week, which you will get on mail or WhatsApp. However, we'll share it with the school. That we will try to give some information in that as well. So maybe now I think, Tishta, can we
Yeah.
take the flavors of law first and then go into a
Sure.
little bit more details? Arijit,
Sure.
would you like to start? I'll just share the one pager that we have.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let me know once you've shared it.
yeah, can you see it?
Yes. Okay. So
Perfect.
one of the important things which everybody should know is that while law is a lawyer, if you ask any of your neighborhood uncles, that basically means a guy is wearing black and white and going to the court. The profession is extremely wide, and I just wanted to give you a flavor of what you can expect if you do law. What are the different career options as a lawyer that you have? So uh, there are, and frankly, this is just a caveat. This is a flavor of it. There are a lot of permutations and combinations within this chart itself that is possible. So firstly, for completing law, you need to do a 5-year course or a 3-year course after your graduation, and you need to apply to the bar council for a membership. Only after you're clear, once you clear the bar council examination, which is a fairly easy examination in India, are you entitled to practice law, so to say. So you'll get a bar council registration from your state, say Bar Council of Delhi. Uh, After that, broadly, there are three categories of law that, as a profession, that you can explore. One is litigation, which is court and tribunal growing lawyers. One is in-house, which is lawyers who work with a particular company or a body corporate. And the third is a law firm. Now, I'll just briefly touch upon this. See, litigation is of different types. You can do civil litigation. Say, a very simple example of that is, say, your check bounces and you want to sue somebody. That falls within the realm of civil litigation. You have criminal litigation, which we all know of, and it is not as illustrious as movies or shows like Suits or Boston Legal makes it sound. Uh, Taxation, again, you have tax litigation, so you go to income tax tribunals, etc. And you have regulatory litigation, which is specialized regulatory bodies are there. For example, if you have electricity disputes, you have a particular regulator, so you go and appear and you argue your case. Broadly, litigation is when you go to court and tribunal and you argue, and you have clients which will brief you. So that is the technical cliche of lawyers in India. The second type of option that you can explore is in-house counsel. These are lawyers which are in a company. So in a company, you generally have a legal head called the general counsel who advises on legal matters within the company. So say you have a Nestle. Nestle will have its own team of lawyers who will deal with issues purely pertaining to Nestle. So this, of course, depends on the type of organization. So if you're a Nestle, if you're say a lawyer engaged in Nestle, then you will be more attuned with laws that govern food standards and safety. If you're a lawyer, say in Netflix, you will be more attuned to entertainment related laws. Uh, this also contains a compliance aspect. So a lot of these companies, actually all companies, have compliance requirements. Say they need to file certain returns, they need to hold board meetings, etc. So there's a whole legal procedure to that, which is also a part of you being an in-house counsel more often than not. The third part, which is law firm, where Tishita and I both, this is the part that we do. So law firms are effectively a group of lawyers which have clients who will come to you when they have a legal issue that they need assistance with. So it is not that you'll be acting only for one company. You will have 5 different types of companies who have 5 different types of requests. So in law firm also, it's a very wide world. Uh, some of the important divisions, so to say, or branches in a law firm that you have is say corporate commercial, which is what I do, which is private equity investment, mergers, acquisition. Capital markets is laws which relate to your stock exchanges, uh, which is say you want to go for an IPO, you contact a capital market lawyer in a law firm. Taxation. Again, law firms itself has a litigation department. So you're a litigating lawyer, but you're not independently practicing. You're associated with a firm. Then you have regulatory, which is specialized streams of particular regulatory bodies, such as say SEBI or say electricity appellate tribunal. You also have a very interesting field of law which is called competition law, which deals, and I would really recommend all of you, you should just read up on the types of law, because it helps you. Even if you choose to do law, you'll again be at the same stage of confusion, say 5 years later. Now that I've become a lawyer, now what kind of law do I do? And that confusion is possibly worse than when you choose to become a lawyer. uh, you have competition law, which is one of the most upcoming fields of law, which is regarding how your position of dominance can be misused, or how two people cannot have an anti-competitive agreement. Two competitors cannot get together and create an agreement that you don't come to my territory, I don't come to your territory. You have banking and finance, which is regarding loans and financial investments. You have projects, which is infrastructure related. And of course, this is just a generic flavor. This You have
So
roles which
I
are,
think,
yeah.
sorry, I think again, with my limited knowledge, I think there is IPR, patents, constitutional, these kind of, where do you house these things? IPR law, patents law, that will also come under.
So as I said, it was just a flavor. So for example, actually, that's a very pertinent example. Say you're very interested in intellectual property rights, about patents and copyrights and trademarks. You can be a litigating lawyer, and you can actually you can actually do litigation and be associated with a senior counsel, or you can independently practice and go to the courts on particularly these matters. So there are a number of litigators who are specially dealing with IPR. You can also be a part of an in-house counsel. For example, if you're a part of a company like Apple, Apple has its own team of IPR lawyers sitting there who are advising them on IPR aspects for their products. You can also be a part of a law firm where you are in part of the IPR team and advising 5 different types of clients on their intellectual property rights related issues. So it's not like a corporate commercial lawyer cannot do litigation, but it is just a play about how you're working for it.
Okay, got it. So,
And, and
sorry,
I just
carry on.
wanted to add one small thing. there's also a difference, and I'll be very honest about it. How this difference really plays out, I have so practically you come out of law school after 5 years. You have certain option. You can go for litigation, which will pay you very very less initially, and till date, unfortunate scenario is that litigating lawyers, when they start off, they make the least, but when they end off, they make the most.
You can
So
give
there is
example here, like maybe Harish Salve or someone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. For example, a lot of so a very good friend of mine who was acting for the Ayodhya case started off with a monthly salary of 8,000 rupees, which frankly was appalling. And if given an option, I would never go for an 8,000 rupees salary. But if you look at her today, after years of experience, sky is the limit for her. So litigation, one thing you should know is that the gestation period is there, but your hard work really really pays off. In-house kind of pays you more, but your growth is slightly
Sorry,
more.
sorry, Arijit. Just I had one question, and I thought that it will be why. So litigation, because we have all sorts of students who are listening in today. So litigation, as you explained, regarding the what do you say, the remuneration, that's one part of it. But generally, it's a different aspect, right? Litigation is a different kind of a life for a lawyer than a corporate law. So maybe you can touch upon that a little bit as well.
So I think the dream of every lawyer is to be a litigating lawyer. I think litigation initially in years is the most satisfying part, uh, practice of law. Uh, and However, because remuneration is an aspect, eventually all that equalizes. Litigation is slightly different because what you do is that you go end up going to courts, you go end up appearing. The feeling of getting an order in favor of your client is something absolutely different. In a corporate law firm, what you're looking at is sitting in the law firm and working within the law firm. Unless you're a part of the litigation team within the law firm, then you possibly go to courts, but not as much as a truly independent litigator does. Uh, they are the one who really go to courts and fight it out. Corporate law firms have a much more nuanced way of working. So it's not like, if you would, so taking a very bad example, if you look at Suits, Harvey Specter is a law firm lawyer. It's not as illustrious, but yeah, but litigation is a fundamentally different lifestyle. You have to run about courts. You have to run around 5 different courts in a day, but it is an extremely satisfying profession where it, it, out of in my personal experience, I would say between litigation in-house and law firm, the high that you get from a litigation practice is unparalleled.
Perfect,
Uh,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think this, and coming back to now, as you were saying, there are different flavors. There's a lot of technical knowledge also needed, right? Because you had mentioned earlier, and both of you mentioned actually, that there is a wide array of courses and a wide technical knowledge that every field has. And accordingly, you can experience everything and specialize in it, right? So all that is taught in the college and with experience, or can students like they have an inclination during 11th 12th and they can do something about it?
No, I think to determine. So I think what you need to do is when you think about law, you generally have some as a student in school. You generally have some basic idea that okay, fine, I'll go to a court or I'll negotiate in meetings, etc. So I think generally in school, I think it would be premature to decide upon the type of law. Also because the knowledge would be fairly limited. Yes, you can read upon it, but go to law school, experience, because each of the matters which I've mentioned here is a part of the law school curriculum. So the law school curriculum will actually take you in 5 years. You're exposed to different areas of law. You figure out your interest, and then after that, you try to get into say whatever, if you want to do litigation in house or law firm. Uh,
Perfect.
so I think yeah, you can. So if you're interested in IPR, I would suggest that attend your IPR course in college and then try to find out more.
Okay, so I'll just summarize and then we'll come to your specialization, Arijit, and your specialization, Tishta. I'll just summarize what we've discussed till now. So there are different flavors which are on the screen today. These are all the different flavors which are there, and plus there are more which are not there, as Arijit was mentioning, like IPR, constitutional law. What we've understood is that not all of us are inclined towards one, like let's say we are not inclined towards litigation or we're not inclined towards corporate, it's important to understand that in the longer scheme of things, if you are doing, again, if you're doing what you love and you stick to it, uh, both almost reach the same level. It's almost the same. So you are starting a little low, let's say, on the remuneration front, on the in litigation, but as Arijit said, that's more rewarding for some, and maybe you don't want that kind of a life and you move to corporate, and that's a different kind of a life. But at the end of the day, if you are good at what you're doing and if you've specialized, and this was again a point that we discussed last time, and at the risk of repeating for the new students, specialization is very important these days. So make sure that you specialize in a field, and that's where your career will take wings. So stick to what you love. Don't get bothered by, okay, my friend is doing this, I should also do this. My parents have done this, I should also do this. Find your own niche whenever the time comes. Today, tomorrow, 5 years, but find your own niche, and that can be very different from people around you. Now, coming back to your
So,
individual expert. Yeah, sorry. Yes, Abhijit.
Tanvir, I just want to say one thing, and I think this is like the crux of you. You hit the nail on the head for everybody listening. And I think, just see, I have limited experience myself. It's been 8 years that I've been practicing as a lawyer. 5 years in law school makes it 13. But generally, I think one biggest takeaway which I have seen is that don't look at your peers and compare yourself. Which what Tanvir was mentioning is absolutely right. For example, and I'll just give you my own example. I got into symbiosis. Now, symbiosis is not say ranked on a year-to-year basis as good as say NLS or frankly even NLU Delhi on rankings, which frankly don't make any sense, and these rankings are clearly a sham. But I have seen people from the smallest of law schools be the best lawyers, from the biggest of law schools being the dumbest people on the planet. So and it just is a matter of a couple of years. For example, in a law firm, if you're from the most illustrious batches of national law schools, you get immediate placements very easily in one of the biggest law firms. But however, couple of years later, you will realize that it all equalizes. So somebody who started from a small law firm also ends into a bigger law firm. Somebody who started at the lower courts also ends up at the high court. So the thing is that don't look at it from a short-term perspective, because look at it from a long-term perspective, that irrespective of where you're doing law from, irrespective of what your circumstances are, irrespective of what your finances are, over a period of time, all that would matter is your hard work, because give it a period of 5 to 6 years and you will automatically be at the same level with everybody. And the only distinguishing factor would be how much are you willing to work hard, and your personality, to which your extracurriculars and all the things that you do in school really plays a part. So your initial differentiation of a law school, where you studied from, what is your economic background, where you come from, is really a difference for 5 to 6 years. After that, it's all the same.
Perfect. I think that should help a lot of students. Now, coming to Tishta. Tishta, your experience, if you can share, you are specializing in a different field, what I understand from your profile. Maybe now we can so I'll just summarize. We are already running late. So we'll quickly try to wrap up in about 10 minutes or so. So if you have questions coming in, please share them. So first part that we'll go into is, Tishta, your experience today, what you specialize in, and then maybe Arijit, your experience today, what you specialize in. Then we'll take the questions and we'll try to wrap the discussion. I understand you guys have to go somewhere as well. So Tishta.
Yeah, just before I do that, I think there are a lot of questions coming about judiciary as well. So like Arijit mentioned, there are a lot of options available even after you have completed your 5 or your 3-year course. And a lot of my batchmates as well as seniors pursue civil services or judiciary exams as well. There's also public policy and research. There are a lot of research centers these days in law schools, and either in NLUs or in private law schools. And those are also sort of really sought after these days. So it totally depends on what you are passionate about, what you like. And how you figure that out is that during your law school, make sure that the first couple of years you try as many activities as possible so as to narrow down on something that interests you. And I'm not saying that you have to be good at it. Like personally, I was really bad at mooting when I started out. And I was one of the bottom ranked speakers in my first year. And then you fast forward to 2 years later, I did really well at mooting only because I just did not give up. I sought advice. I talked to seniors, I talked to my colleagues, and I just knew that this is something that I like doing or I'm passionate about. So I chose not to give up, and that really helped me a lot. Now, coming to my interests, so I'm not really specializing at the moment at the firm that I'm working with. We have a training, so we have to do like 6 months each in three different seats. So I have done litigation or dispute resolution, and right now I'm in general corporate. But my interest, primarily due to the moots that I did, lies in arbitration, which is a part of dispute resolution. So that is something that I feel I would eventually end up specializing in. But at the moment, of course, I'm very young. I'm just out of law school. So I'm also exploring the different kind of opportunities that are available. And the firm is also giving me that chance by exposing me to three different areas of law right at the beginning, so I can choose which area I would like to specialize in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Arijit, I understand you specialize in merger acquisitions, private equity.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain more to students.
So it just happened that the partner I work with does a lot of private equity, so I ended up specializing in it, which is usually the case. So I do three things primarily. One is corporate commercial, private equity, and mergers and acquisition. Private equity is effectively uh, investment into companies in India with a view to get financial returns. So if I want to put money in a company, to keep it simple, uh, you need a lawyer to help you because there are many nuances in how you need to invest. What is the procedure for investing, particularly if you're a guy, if you're a foreign person, you want to invest in an Indian company, say a startup, then what is the nuances? What are the different commercial aspects? How do you protect your investment is something that I advise on. Mergers and acquisitions is again, if you want to merge two companies, if you want to acquire a company, uh, that sort of thing has a complex legal framework. So that is something I work on. And corporate commercial is every sort of contractual, relationship. If say you want to hire an employee, you want to enter into a services agreement because you want to enter into a service agreement. Say you want to go and download your latest Tinder app and you have your standard terms and conditions. So those standard terms and conditions is also something that I will be advising on. So it's a much more larger world.
Perfect. Thank you. So before we take the questions, I'll just summarize a few points. So as both our speakers have mentioned, colleges. Uh, there is obviously an aspirational college which people who are wanting to pursue legal might have in mind. That can be anything, as Arijit was saying. There are rankings and different rankings from different sources. So aspirations are good, and you should target, and that's very important to have that aspiration. But at the same time, as Arijit said, uh, find even if you, let's say, don't reach your aspirational college, whichever that college is, don't be disheartened. You should actually put in more work and make sure that you are the best in whichever college you land up in, and that will reap rewards for you. And as he said, it might be just 6 months late or 1 year late, but you will get to the same, what do you say, your aspirational firm or your aspirational field. You will get there, just maybe. And a year in the longer scheme of things, that is life, is not that big. Believe me, from my experience, from Arijit's experience, 1 year in the bigger scheme of things, which is life, is not that big. So don't be disheartened. One thing is pretty, which Tishta also touched, that, and that's something little off topic. She actually touched upon our faculty in school, and she touched upon insights. And I also have the same thing. So insights actually, and what we learned uh, because of that, actually played a lot of played a big role into how well-rounded we've come out. And as I said, studies and academic scores will take you to one level, but it's these smaller and finer things which, if you are aware, you will understand, will actually help you break that glass ceiling and make you stand out. And that's where insights, no matter how we cursed, insights in school played a big role for us. One thing, Arijit and Tishta, you can choose who to answer, whoever you wants to take that up. Uh, what is the world of law looking like today? Is there one specialization or one field better than the other? Is there a flavor of the season that students can look forward to for the next 5 years? And second part of this question again, uh, boutique law firms versus big law firms. Uh, is there a difference? Is there a pro and con that you can share?
Sure. Tishita, would you like to, why don't you take it up? I'll just chip in.
Okay. So I'll take the second one first, which is about boutique law firms versus big law firms. I think a primary distinction is that big law firms cater to a lot of practice areas. So someone like me, when I'm just starting out, and I still have a fair idea about what I'm interested in, so I might be able to choose my specialization. But for someone who has no idea and wants to explore the different practice areas, then of course a big law firm is the way to go. Once you have figured out, or if you're sure from the beginning, then I would say that, yeah, a boutique law firm is a great option as well. Now, coming to your first question, I think, which was about what we see happening in the next 5 years and if there's a specialization that's required. Of course, as you go along the years and with the experience that you gain, you will become specialized in one thing or the other. That might be more true for firm lawyers than litigating lawyers who are also expected to do like a varied areas of laws. But specialization is something that is looked favorably upon these days, even amongst litigating lawyers. If you specialize in a particular kind of dispute, you are more sought after. In what that specialization should be, I would say that it should be something that you like or you are passionate about. So there's nothing, two or three things that I can say, at least in my view for now, which are going to stay for the next 5 years or which are going to be very in demand. Of course, law is going to change post COVID. It is changing even now. All of us are working from home. There's a lot of legal tech that is being used. We have to also change the way we work since we work in corporate firms. So it was not that difficult a transition for us because all of the work that we do is mostly online already. But especially in courts, I think by next year, you can expect that a lot of the work is going to be shifted remotely. So I think in terms of the skills that you'll need, maybe the law schools will have to revamp their course structures to also include bits about technology, how to deal with softwares, etc. I don't know if and how
It's a lot
soon
of
they're going to do that. Yeah.
sorry. So just cutting
Yeah.
interest of time. So a lot of interesting things ahead. So I'll just go to the questions now. So we've covered what is CLAD, and
Tanveer, Tanveer,
yes, ma'am.
huh,
Yes,
I have to rush off for another meeting that begins exactly at 1. So
sure,
I
ma'am.
just wanted to do a little thank you to both Arijit and Tishta for doing all this so wonderfully well. I mean, I've been listening to everything. And I just want to tell the children, as both Arijit said and Tishta said, follow your passion, never give up, and you've got a lifetime to explore. You won't believe it, but there are times when I've, wondered whether I can still. So that's something I might just end up doing. So please keep exploring, and thank you so much, Arijit. You were wonderful with your experience, with all your achievements. And Tishta, you're a fine girl. We wish you the very best in life. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
ma'am.
much, Ram.
Thank you, ma'am. So I'll just take the questions quickly. Okay, the next question was, and this is important, which law field do you think is better for girls? And is corporate law beneficial for girls, or does I think this is Tishka, you can answer this. Which law field is better for girls? Is there a differentiation, and is corporate law beneficial for girls?
So I personally don't think that there is a particular law field that is preferable for girls. Like I said, you should just focus on your passion. Of course, in one or the other fields, it might be a little more difficult to break the glass ceiling, like Arijit said. So in litigation, I feel the times are changing. Earlier, it was more difficult for women to be part of mainstream litigation. But now when I do visit courts, I see a lot of female advocates. So just follow your passion. And then talking about corporate law, so our firm actually is one of the few firms that has a great gender ratio. It is actually, if I'm not wrong, it's 60-40 in favor of women. And even in leadership positions, you see a lot of females. So especially in terms of just the corporate law firm, there is in the working environment very little discrimination you would face just because you're a girl or a woman. That is not something that should keep you, sort of hold you back. But at the same time, I would say there are situations in dealing with clients where you might face a little bit of difficulty. What helps is talking to your seniors, your partners, and I'm sure if you voice your concerns, they'll be able to deal with it appropriately.
So just to add to that, I don't think so. There's any field which is good or bad for a girl. I think it's a gender agnostic thing. So litigation. So some of my actually more women friends of mine are in litigation than male friends. So it's completely gender agnostic. I think don't look at it from a girl versus boy perspective. Find out what you really.
Arijit?
Hello.
Yeah, we lost you there for a minute. So find out what you
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
lost
so
you after that.
sorry. I said that find out what you're really interested in doing. You want to do litigation, you want to do IPR, whichever way. I don't think so. There's one aspect of law which is safe for girls or which is safe for guys or something of that sort. I don't think so that that sort of differentiation really exists per se in the field. Personally, you
Perfect.
may face one issue or the other. If you're a girl, unfortunate scenario in India is that uh, even in a bus or a metro you feel sometimes unsafe. So I think that is a general issue, but from a legal perspective I think it's gender agnostic.
Perfect. So next question is, so I think we've answered this. Why did we choose Why did you choose corporate over litigation? Arijit, I think we've answered that. It was oh, you want to take it up?
So the answer is very simple. I did not have the patience to wait for the gestation period, and I wasn't okay with an 8,000 rupees salary. Now, after 8 years, if I look back, I wish I had taken that thing because my litigating lawyers earn much more than me. So
Okay,
I think
perfect.
it was a very personal choice.
So yeah, it's a personal choice. Choose for yourself. Be aware. Next question is, if one is still not sure what he or she wants to do, what is the way? As I said, right now at this stage, and the speakers have also discussed, read a lot, talk to people in this field, and if you get the opportunity, spend some time in their office or in their with them for a few hours a day, 2 hours maybe. That's also good, more than enough. You'll slowly figure it out. Don't worry. If you do these things, you'll figure out what you love. And believe
And
us, we've all been there.
yeah, and one of the best things about this is that you can actually leverage your alumni network. You may Tanveer, and this is a subject to what you think, and people who want to really get in touch with lawyers. I'm sure that it's not just the two lawyers from our school. I'm sure there are a dime a dozen. So you can speak to a couple of them and maybe establish contact and just have a normal chat.
Yeah, so we have plans to actually do that. So through our website, we will try to get that done. It will just take us some time. It's still at the drawing board stage, but we are working on it. How we can get students in touch with alumni who want to impart them this kind of an experience. Maybe allow them to spend some time with them in their office. So we are working on it. It will just take us a little longer. Uh, okay, so the next question is, why did you choose Cyril, Amarchand, Mangaldas, CAM as a firm to work with? And are moot court sessions helpful in building up your skills?
Tishita, I would suggest you take this.
Okay, so I think I talked a little bit about mooting. I am particularly passionate about it. I have been an avid mooter. I'm still coaching, I'm still judging moots, so I'm very
Tishita,
engrossed.
you want to
Yeah,
explain what mooting is?
okay, sure.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. Yeah, so mooting is basically this very peculiar law school activity which you get a problem which is a set of legal facts, and it is based on a particular area of law. What you have to do is that you have to first figure out what laws are applicable. Then you have to, like I said earlier, apply those legal principles or laws that you figured out to the set of facts that you have. So there is a set of written submissions that you make. We call it memorials or memos. And after submitting the memos, we have oral arguments. So in oral arguments, it's essentially that you will be representing whatever case you have laid out in the written submissions, and you get some time. So it could be 10 minutes, 15 minutes per speaker, where you have to justify your case. So essentially, in terms of the skills that you acquire, I feel it gives you a very good idea about what you can expect in litigation. Of course, there are a lot of differences between mooting and actual litigation, but it definitely provides you the skill set to research, to draft, to be able to speak concisely and structure your submissions in a way that is very persuasive for whoever the judge that may be listening to you. And it also develops a lot of skills in terms of your confidence, your speaking abilities, etc. So personally, I would strongly recommend that you at least try it. It's fine if you don't like it. And like I said, I was really bad at it. So
So
if
it
you
helps.
are, yeah, not successful at the beginning, that is also fine.
Yeah, try. Never said that. That's important. So next, and is Lakshita Goyal on the call right now? Because she has a question and she's Lakshita Goyal on the call. Can you explain your question, please? So till that, I think she's not there. Uh, okay. Can you please? Okay. And so NIFT and NID is a question, and I think I will leave it. So we have a session planned especially for NIFT and NID. It will happen maybe in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, where we will have alumni who've actually recently cracked NIFT or NID, and some people who've actually gained experience in the field, in the sector for 8 to 10 years or more. And I think that will be the right time to delve deeper into NIFT and NID as a career, as a field. So I leave these questions for that time.
Sir,
Yes, Ishan?
sir, can we have your number so we have doubt in
Yeah.
future?
Yeah, so we will. So you can. So what we have asked the school is, you can actually put down your questions to your teacher coordinators. They will reach us, and from there we will pass on the questions to the alumni, and we will try to organize the answers for you. So teacher coordinators will be the right people to help you out. Just give your questions to them; it will reach us, and we'll get you the answers.
I just want to point out something here.
Yes, ma'am.
Arijit, it's wonderful to see you here, and that's one of the reason I wanted to listen to each and everything being said here. It's you wonderfully expressed everything about law. And children, I just want to bring to your notice one very important thing I remembered about Arijit. He never gave up on an argument. And I remember that and I remember that he made a cover page for a magazine, and he was one of the best actually. And he made this magazine cover with it was beautiful, very creative, and there was a bottle in it. And the point of issue was, now me being politically correct, no, we can't have it for the magazine. And his argument was, why not? And in the end, I was convinced. But then there was a problem. There is always a problem that you have to go around the right way. But this is what I want children, you to follow. Thinking is very, very important. Asking questions is very important. And please, for heaven's sake, work upon your vocabulary and your language, especially your spellings. You need to really work on that. Thank you. Thanks a lot. We have a meeting actually, so we'll have to move. Bye.
Thank you so much, Ashika ma'am.
Ma'am, can you suggest to improve English? Ma'am, how to do it in this lockdown period? Ma'am, I started reading the newspapers from yesterday. Is ma'am there?
So, Ishan, I will suggest you can talk to ma'am on your WhatsApp group. That will be helpful. Uh, so, there is a question Ishan has raised, and I think I will answer that once again. That his friends are pressuring him that if you don't take maths, so there will be an issue. Uh, so, as Ishan Arijit also said, if law is your field, you can still go for your entrance exams. Make sure your other subjects are very strong. And if you're not sure which is your field, then it is a personal choice. There are careers out there where you don't need maths. If maths is affecting your other parts of the studies, then again, it's something that you have to see. But if maths is affecting your other parts of the studies, then it might not be the right option for you. Just whatever you are doing, you make sure that you are doing it in the best possible way, and you will be able to succeed. I think we've answered most of the questions. Uh, yes, I think one question. Okay, I think Gunjan has helped answer that. I think we've answered most of the questions, and it's half an hour over time. Thank you, Ariji. Thank you, Tishta, for the webinar today. And it was really helpful for the students, I'm pretty sure, with the kind of questions we have. Thank you for your time, and great having you here.
Thank you so much. Our pleasure to be here, and it's a particular treat to see Rashika ma'am, Sonia ma'am, Veena ma'am, and Apra ma'am being Aprajita ma'am being on call. It's really good. It takes us back to nostalgic times.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having
Thank
us.
you.
Excuse me, sir. So I
Yes.
just had one little question. That can you suggest some good coaching institutes for the preparation of our exams, like CLAT or ALET?
Tishta?
Yeah. So I personally joined IMS, but there's also CL, and it has, I think, the CL prep material is very good. So even if you choose to self-study, I think you can do that if you're spending a year or two in the prep, and you can definitely subscribe to these materials. And if you feel
Thank you so much, Tisha, for this session. It was so nice to see you all back. You were there to arrange for each and everything. Can we just finish it up to join? Maybe other teachers are. I hope children must have liked it.
Yeah, I think this is the last question. We'll just close it.
Thank
This
you
is the
so
last
much,
question.
Paul.
I think answering your question on so Career Launcher and IMS both are good. However, any coaching is as good as how much time you put in. That's from all of our experiences. A lot of us, including me, have wasted a lot of money on coaching. If you're not putting time and effort to understand, there's no coaching will be able to help you. And Arijit also said the same thing. So it's important that you study, and you study at home or you study in coaching. Both are same. Just you have to put in time and you have to put in effort. Okay. Thank you. We'll close the call for the day. Thanks a lot, everyone.
thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have fun.